All right. Hello, everyone. We'll go ahead and get started. We're at the top of the hour here. My name is Chris Barnhill. I'm the Director of Marketing at Skyven Technologies. First, want to thank you for joining us for our webinar today and regarding the Inflation Reduction Act. And just a little housekeeping before we get started. If you do have any questions during the presentations, we encourage you to put those in the Q&A box down on your Zoom control panel. If you're used to like Microsoft Teams or Google Meet, just keep looking. It's down there. It's Q&A. You'll find it. So we do encourage you putting those in, and we'll have a Q&A session at the end of today's webinar to answer those questions. We'll also be recording the webinar today. And just for clarity, Skyven Technologies is not speaking on behalf of the Department of Energy. The webinar today is presenting our own thoughts and opinions. And this webinar is not intended to provide a comprehensive overview of the Department of Energy industrial decarbonization program. Rather, it focuses specifically on Skyven's industrial heat pump offering. So just wanted to clear that up. Next slide, please. And we've got a great agenda for you today. We're really excited to have Ed Rightor from the Information Technology and Innovation Foundation with us today. He'll discuss the importance of process heat as the cross-cutting opportunity across heavy industry. We'll follow that up with an overview and an update of the Inflation Reduction Act and really what key pieces of information manufacturers need to know in order to secure funding. And then we'll discuss working with Skyven, our technology offering, and really what sets us apart from others as a unique partner for this opportunity. And as I mentioned, we'll close it out with a Q&A session. So please do submit those questions. If we're unable to answer your question, we will respond to you after the webinar and get that answered for you. Next slide, please. So our speakers for today. So we have Arun Gupta, the founder and CEO of Skyven Technologies, an energy as a service company focused on cutting CO2 emissions related to industrial process heat. And Arun and the Skyven team innovate new processes and technologies to catalyze industrial decarbonization. And we have Ed Rightor, the Director at the Information Technology and Innovation Foundation's Center for Clean Energy Innovation. And in this role, Ed develops and leads the strategic vision, shapes the research and policy agenda, and convenes stakeholders to accelerate innovation in low carbon technology implementation, emissions reduction, and enabling policy. Prior to his time with the ITIF, Ed co-authored the Department of Energy's Industrial Decarbonization Roadmap, led the industrial program at ACEEE for over 3 years, and served at Dow Chemical for 31 years in R&D, business, environmental, and sustainability roles. So with that, I will hand it over to Ed Rightor.
Okay, thanks, Chris and Arun, and the opportunity to provide some perspective here on where process heat fits in the renewable fuels landscape. Next slide, please. Just a quick note about ITIF. It's a policy think tank at the interfaces between science, technology, and of course, policy. It's nonpartisan and nonprofit as well, focusing on innovation. Next slide. Within ITIF, the Center for Clean Energy Innovation focuses on research that will lower the hurdles for low carbon technologies. And that's across the board in climate and energy space relative to policy. Next slide, please. So let me talk about some decarbonization strategies. In this space, you can decarbonize the power or the feedstocks that industry uses. Within the fence line of industries, one of the major opportunities, which we'll focus on today, is decarbonizing process heat, as process heat is ubiquitous in industry, and it's something that goes across all heavy industrial segments. One can also decarbonize supply chains and respond to the market demands for low carbon products. Those types of market pull mechanisms are important for helping to justify those low carbon projects. Next slide, please. So in the industrial space, industry is important it emits about 30% of the greenhouse gases nationwide. And in that space, you can see in the details to the right, the industrial segments that account for those large portions of the greenhouse gas emissions from industry. Next slide. So 4 common pillars that one can think about in this space for decarbonization. The first is energy efficiency and also associated materials efficiency. Second is energy substitution or fuels substitution. Third is low carbon fuels and feedstocks. That's typically where hydrogen fits. And fourth is mitigation of CO2 that perhaps one can't address with the other three pillars. Next click. We'll focus today on the energy substitution, as that's where electrification fits in. Next slide, please. So in industry, process heat is, as I mentioned, the big opportunities across not only the generation of process heat, but in some cases the machine drives. Process heat accounts for 60% of the on-site industrial energy use. Hence, for decarbonization across all heavy industries, it is the big cross-cutting opportunity. Next slide, please. So process heat has a number of different process ranges or temperature ranges, as you can see on this slide. Depending on your industry, there's a fair amount of process heat that's under 300 degrees C. And it's that range which is particularly interesting for industrial heat pumps. You can see in chemicals, petrochemical and coal, paper, food. There's a fair amount of this process heat that's under 300 degrees C, and a fair amount of it, in fact, under 200 degrees C. Next slide, please. So this is a key opportunity then for industrial heat pumps. So these heat pumps are like the heat pumps you'll find in homes, except I would say that they're on steroids because of the fact that they can go to much higher temperatures. Temperatures in the range of up to 200 degrees C is where current commercial systems are. Heat pumps lift the temperature to a higher range, a range which could be of greater applicability in industry. Now, you can use either electricity or you can use waste process heat. The opportunity to use both of those or either of those is something that aids decarbonization, as that electricity can come from low carbon sources, wind, solar, and others. And the heat delivered versus the electricity used can be a ratio of 2 to 5 or more. That provides great return, something called the coefficient of performance, for the use of electricity in industrial heat pumps. Some prior work here shows that savings of the source energy, either that's natural gas or it's electricity, can be upwards of 32%. And the reductions across some of the sectors that we had just looked at for industry, such as chemicals, pulp and paper, and food, can be up to 13 million tons a year of CO2 for those select industries. That's the equivalent to about some 3 million passenger cars. So it's significant. Next slide, please. So the Department of Energy has recognized this opportunity to address decarbonization via industrial heat pumps. In addition to the DOE heat shot, which looks to reduce CO2 emissions from process heat by large amounts by 2035, they also have supported the Advanced Industrial Facilities Deployment Program, which is a large $5.8 billion program to demonstrate transformative technologies at scale. And so with that, Arun is going to tell us a lot more about that, and I'll hand it over to him.
Thanks so much, Ed. Hi, everyone. My name is Arun Gupta. I'm the founder and CEO here at Skyven Technologies. I'm very excited to be speaking with you all today. Thank you so much for your time. That opportunity that Ed just mentioned, the Department of Energy is calling this an unprecedented opportunity to lead the world in the next industrial revolution. And that industrial revolution, of course, is industrial decarbonization. Next slide. So this opportunity, again, it's funded by the Inflation Reduction Act, and it's providing large awards. So the minimum award size is 75 million, and the maximum award size is 500 million. And I should also state, I'm specifically talking about topic 2. There are multiple topics and multiple opportunities in this grant, and where this talk is focused on the one that's suitable for industrial heat pumps. So the grant has a 50% federal cost share, which means the grant will cover 50% of the project costs. And the use of funds is to fund multi-site, cross-cutting technology demonstration projects to reduce or eliminate greenhouse gas emissions. I'll talk a little more about that. Next slide. So what technologies qualify here? The number one goal here is the Department of Energy is trying to increase the competitiveness of American manufacturing through greenhouse gas emissions reductions. So first and foremost, technologies and grant proposals must significantly decrease industrial emissions. And this opportunity is specifically targeting hard to decarbonize industries, which include chemicals, pulp and paper, and food and beverage, among others. Technologies, related technologies will increase energy efficiency, and they're looking for cross-cutting applications. They're looking for technologies that do the most good for the most amount of people. So they're not looking for specialized sort of one-off technologies, but rather things that can be demonstrated in multiple facilities and also ideally multiple industries. And ultimately what this opportunity is looking to do is drive mass adoption and drive scale. So they're looking to decrease the cost, the total installed cost, and the implementation cost of these advanced decarbonization technologies through at-scale demonstration. Go to the next slide. So other grant priorities. They're looking to install commercially ready technologies. This is not, the Department of Energy has other funding opportunities for earlier stage research and development. This is for commercial readiness. And they're looking to benefit local communities, which includes improving air quality and providing local jobs. And we talked about multi-facility retrofits and reduction in greenhouse gases as well. Next slide. So the DOE funding process, there is essentially a two-stage funding process here. The first stage is a concept paper, and the concept paper is due April 14th. And I should state that the deadlines here are Skyven deadlines to give us time to put together a final application before submission to the Department of Energy. So the Department of Energy's dates are a little bit later than these, but we want you to remember these dates because these dates are the dates that we need to work with you on this. And I'll talk a little bit more about what that means in a minute. So after the concept paper, the next stage is the full grant application. We need to work with you by mid-July on that. And then the Department of Energy is expecting to give awards out this winter. So you can expect December of 2023. Go to the next slide. So let me talk more about what it means to work with Skyven. Next slide. So there are 4 key reasons why it makes sense to partner with Skyven on this opportunity. The first is we bring the cutting edge technology that fits the Department of Energy's program priorities. Next slide. So we are putting together a portfolio of projects that deploy Skyven Arcturus line of steam generating heat pumps. So this technology captures heat from cooling water return, or essentially heat rejected to the atmosphere from the manufacturing facility at temperatures as low as 80 or 90 degrees Fahrenheit, and increases the temperature of that heat as high as 400 degrees Fahrenheit in order to generate steam that's injected directly into the plant's steam header. In doing so, this technology can reduce or eliminate fossil fuel consumption related to industrial steam. And it does that by reducing or eliminating the load on existing fossil fuel boilers. So that's compared to fossil fuel boilers. And then compared to electric boilers, this technology uses roughly 60% less electricity than electric boilers. So if you know what Ed mentioned, the coefficient of performance, that means the coefficient of performance is about 2.5 in these systems. So these systems are backed up by existing boilers and cooling towers to add redundancy to the facility. And the technology itself is commercially ready, has been demonstrated at full industrial scale in a very small handful of one-off projects. And so this technology has been demonstrated full scale and is now ready for mass deployment. It's ready to go to scale, which is exactly what the Department of Energy is looking for here. And the core of this technology is mechanical vapor recompression, which is something that has been demonstrated over the course of multiple decades in many high reliability industrial applications. So this is really ready for mass deployment in industrial manufacturing. Go to the next slide. So the question is, how will the Skyven Arcturus heat pumps address the grant priorities? Well, first of all, they significantly decrease CO2 emissions. The grant's looking for at least 50% reduction in CO2 emissions for the facility. And this technology does achieve that, again, by reducing or eliminating the need for natural gas boilers. And of course, it increases energy efficiency. This is a waste heat source heat pump. And so rather than rejecting low temperature heat, just throwing it away into the atmosphere, this technology allows the plant to capture that heat and upgrade it and reuse it. So this is really a form of heat recycling. And we talked about why this is ready for multi-facility demonstrations. It's backed up by existing boilers, and outside of the cooling water return and the steam header, this technology operates completely outside of a plant's process. So that's really important because many industrial heating technologies require unit level process integration. That means changes to a plant's process, which is exceptionally difficult to do at scale in the industrial sector because of the need for exceptionally high reliability. And so essentially, in our view, it's basically a non-starter to change unit processes, and that's why we are addressing this opportunity with a technology that lives outside of the plant's process. Go to the next slide. Okay, second reason to work with us. We've got significant experience with grants and funding. Next slide. So first of all, we have a proven track record when it comes to winning grant funding to support decarbonization projects with industrial manufacturing clients. So in 2018, the state of California released about $120 million of funding to decarbonize California's food production industry. And Skyven single-handedly won $20 million out of that $120 million to support 9 projects with 4 different customers. So we've done this before. And even recently, I would say last month, we were just awarded a new $2.8 million award from the state of California to accelerate the manufacturing and production, the US-based manufacturing and production of these Arcturus heat pumps. Next slide. So on top of that, the Skyven is an official Department of Energy financial ally. And we have, I think, 5 large multinational companies already on board. We have room for some additional partnerships and additional companies. We'd like to help we really want to demonstrate this technology at scale in order to meet the Department of Energy's goals with this program. And so that's where you'll see this over and over again. We ask that if you are involved with industrial manufacturing, work for an industrial manufacturing company, please reach out to us. And we'd love to tell you more and answer. You probably have a million questions. Ask them here. Additional questions, call us. We'll talk to you about it. And then the final reason here on this slide is community ties. Again, that's one of the requirements of the grant. The grant is looking to benefit local communities. And so Skyven has a history of involving the local communities, and working with the cities in order to protect community interests and really highlight the benefits to the community of the work that manufacturing plants are doing to decarbonize their operations. Next slide. Okay, third reason here is that Skyven brings a unique and aligned financial model. Next slide. So to put it very simply, Skyven will handle the entire process for you, and we do that at our own cost. What does that mean? Next slide. So with this grant opportunity, there's a 50% federal cost share. That means 50% of the total project cost are covered through this IRA funding opportunity. And Skyven will step in with our energy as a service business model that I'll tell you about in a second and cover the remaining 50% to ensure that these projects are no capital cost to our clients. Next slide. So what we do at Skyven, we're an energy as a service provider that delivers clean process heat to industrial facilities at prices lower than natural gas. And in order to do that, we pay for the implementation of technologies such as Arcturus on site at our customers' facilities. And then we bill for the clean energy that these systems deliver to the plant. And we bill at less than the price of natural gas. So our customers save money from day one with no capital expenses, and they make progress on their carbon goals without spending any money. Next slide. So the key behind this model is alignment. Our financial goals are aligned with your emissions reductions, right? So we're very motivated to put together a phenomenal funding proposal and win the funding for our clients, and then we step in, like I mentioned, and cover the remaining cost. So we're putting our money on the line, and we're only billing based on the actual benefit that you really receive, that real clean emissions-free thermal energy. And so if our projects underperform, we've got skin in the game, we've got money on the line, and we can't bill you if the projects aren't working. And if the projects are underperforming, we literally bill you less. So we're very incentivized to come in there and optimize the system, fix problems immediately, because that's how we make money. Go to the next slide. Just to highlight a couple of additional reasons why customers work with us from a financial standpoint. Our contracts are structured from the ground up as service contracts. They're not leases or loans, so they do generate true savings without affecting financial debt ratios. We hold all the performance risk. So with a typical capital project, if you buy a system from a vendor and that system underperforms, a manufacturing facility, they're left holding the bag on that. And maybe they can get the vendor to sign a performance guarantee. But even then, it becomes quite difficult to get a vendor to honor a performance guarantee. And the burden of proof is typically on the manufacturing facility to prove underperformance. And that's something that a manufacturing facility doesn't have the bandwidth to do. They're focused on production. And of course, this model also helps companies avoid competing needs for capital. Pretty much every manufacturing facility that I've ever worked with has a long list of capital projects, and this helps get clean energy projects done without competing with projects related to throughput, quality, safety, new product launches, that kind of thing. Next slide. And then the fourth reason to work with Skyven is end-to-end project execution. Next slide. So Skyven handles the full project from concept through engineering, through equipment procurement, construction, commissioning, and ongoing maintenance. So our process is pretty straightforward. We start with what we call a Galileo run. And Galileo is a unique, first of its kind software that we've developed in-house to automate and accelerate the conceptual engineering and initial plant analysis that's required for initial scoping of any project of this nature. So rather than taking a couple months worth of engineering, this software allows us to complete that engineering in about 2 hours. So once we get the project defined with the Galileo run, then we'll negotiate a thermal energy services agreement, TESA or TESA, that allows us to begin project engineering and execution at our own cost. So then the next step then after that, once we get an agreement signed, is that Skyven will do the engineering design, again, completely at our own cost. And we present that engineering design to our clients for design approval. Our clients get full unilateral design approval. If a project does not satisfy the engineering concerns of our clients, they can simply tell us, hey, this doesn't address XYZ concern. And then it's on Skyven to go back and modify the engineering design to address those concerns. And we do that, again, completely at our own cost. Once we present a design that is satisfactory to the client and the client approves, then we begin the project execution process where we purchase the equipment and then we manage the construction of the project, the commissioning. And then after commissioning, we stay on board for a period of 10 years to pay for and manage ongoing maintenance. And again, we're very incentivized to keep the system maintained in tip-top shape and optimized to produce maximum amount of energy savings and carbon savings for our clients, because that's how we make money. Go to the next slide. So key takeaways to remember here, as I'm about to wrap up the presentation. We've got $5.8 billion opportunity allocated by the Inflation Reduction Act towards industrial decarbonization. With individual awards, it's 35, the entire program, individual awards, 35 million to 500 million in funding. And that funding can be used for multi-site facility retrofit projects. And the Skyven Arcturus heat pump is a great technology that meets those requirements. The federal government is providing a 50% cost share, meaning the federal government is going to pay half the project cost, and Skyven will step in and cover the rest. And so we're putting together a portfolio of multiple projects across multiple companies and multiple industries in order to address this award opportunity. And we encourage you to schedule a call with us today so that we can get into some more details. Next slide. So again, this is my contact information. That's my cell number. feel free to call me, email me, and Rick Wenger there is our director of sales. That's his cell number and his email address. So please reach out to either one of us. We're on a tight timeline here. The concept paper is due April 21st, which means that we at Skyven need a indication of interest from you by April 14th. So please schedule a call with us before then so we can talk through exactly what that entails and what liabilities and what you're signing up for and all of that. Okay. I think let me pass it back to Chris Barnhill. Thank you so much for your time, and we're I think ready for Q&A.
Awesome. Thanks, Arun. Thanks, Ed. Thanks for walking us through that. We have had some questions come in, so I'll read through these and I'll let you know if it's Arun or Ed to respond. I think the first one is for you, Arun. Can companies apply for these funding opportunities themselves? And if so, why would we need Skyven's help?
Companies can absolutely apply for these themselves. If you think you can put together, the minimum award size is $75 million for a facility retrofit. So if you think you can put together a $75 million grant application with one company, and you can bring the technology and the immense amount, a full application is like 250 pages. It is an incredibly large amount of work. And so if there's bandwidth internally to do that, and there's the scale to put together, at least a $75 million application, then yeah, absolutely. But kind of in answering that, I also, was alluding to the reasons to work with Skyven, and that's because we are aggregating multiple projects across multiple companies, multiple industries. We already have written commitments from 25 facilities. And then on top of that, we at Skyven have the expertise, as I went through in the presentation, and the experience to go and capture this funding for our clients.
Great, thanks for that. The second question, Ed, I'll throw this one your way, and it says, what's really going to make things click for industrial heat pumps? What's going to really get these things going and installed?
A couple ideas, Chris, there. One is demonstrations across multiple sectors. Folks in each sector want to see the application in their area. Food and beverage, chemicals, refining, pulp and paper. They're all interested in industrial heat pumps, but there's relatively few applications in the US in their particular industries. So I think that's one. Two is going to be showing the economic viability of industrial heat pumps. So in addition to reducing CO2 emissions, they've got to make sense relative to economics. And I think, as Arun has already talked about, this approach reduces many of the risks relative to the economics. So I think that's the second. And I think the third thing that's really going to be beneficial in this space is the building of the capabilities for the workforce to not only put the industrial heat pumps on the ground, but also to support them long term as well, and to build a community of people that support the technologies.
Great, thanks, Ed. Appreciate that. One more coming in here. Arun, I'll toss it over to you. It's saying, what resources or talent are required from us if we partner on the grant and a future project with Skyven?
Oh, good question. Again, the Skyven provides, or Skyven takes full responsibility of the project from concept all the way through construction and even maintenance. What we need, that said, a partnership with every facility that we work with is critical. So we can't build anything at any plant without involvement from the plant. So first, we need collaboration on the engineering design, as well as review and approval of the engineering design. As I mentioned in the Skyven process, we cannot build anything without design approval from the customer. And then The second thing is we need collaboration on the construction logistics. That can mean things as seemingly small but important as where do we put the crane? If the crane is blocking a trucking lane, that can mean disaster for that day. So that's just a small example of the type of collaboration that we need.
Great, thank you for that. Another one coming in here, is there a minimum size of site or annual natural gas spend or steam requirements to be a fit? And I don't know if this is specific to the grant or just in general for projects, but that's the question. I'll throw it to you, Arun.
Yeah, that's a good one as well. For the Skyven Arcturus line of steam generating heat pumps, I'll answer for that specifically. And the minimum sizes, we're looking for plants that are running at least 150 boiler horsepower. So that's call it roughly 5 kpounds of steam in a baseline configuration. So pretty much every plant we work with, is up and down. But for the most part, it doesn't have to be perfect, but for the most part, we need at least 150 horsepower or 5 kpounds per hour of steam load around the clock or throughout the year.
Great, thanks. That's helpful. We've got a few more.
Oh, sorry, Chris. One more thing I'll mention is that's the minimum size. There actually is no maximum size, and there is economies of scale in these systems, and so larger is better.
Great, good to know. Thanks for adding that. We had one in, just a clarifying question on the minimum size of the funding from the IRA. Is it 35 million or 75 million?
Yeah. Apologies for giving you two numbers there. There are multiple topics under this award, and 35 million is the minimum for the smallest topic, which is not a facility retrofit and essentially is outside the scope of what we've talked about here today. The smallest or minimum award size for facility retrofit project is 75 million.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, thanks for that clarification. I saw that as well, so that's a good question. Thanks for submitting that one. And we've got about 5 minutes left, and I've got 2 or 3 more questions here. Feel free to add some more in if you have them, and we'll do our best to get to them. This one should be a quick answer, and I think you hit it right at the end, Arun. But what's the best way to continue this conversation if we want to get this in front of others at our facility or company? What's kind of the next step?
Give me a call, give Rick a call, or send one of us an email. Our contact information is here on this slide. Would love to schedule a call with you. It can be just a 30-minute introduction call. We'll go through some of the same information we went through today, but we want to specifically address your questions and help you understand, exactly what you're signing up for and exactly what it takes, what you need to do, and by when.
Great, sounds easy enough. And then, like I said, a few more here. Does Skyven validate my facility's ability to install this technology prior to applying for the grant?
Great question. So the short answer is yes, we do. I mentioned there's a 2-stage application process. And certainly before we submit the full or the 2nd stage application, we will do that initial analysis on your facility, which is made very efficient and time efficient with our Galileo software. And that's the mechanism by which we assess whether your facility has the ability or whether it's a good fit for the technology.
Okay, great, thanks. A few more came in here. So if we join you on the grant, are we legally required to complete the project when funding is awarded?
Oh, good question. Essentially there's a multi-stage process, and in early stages, the commitment is lower than in later stages, as you might expect. So the commitment in the very earliest stage is very low. And then as we go through the process, and this process, it's just to give you an idea of timeline here, it will take the equipment takes approximately 1 year to source. And so we're really talking about constructed systems in the 2025 timeframe, or potentially 2026. And so, between now and over the next 2 years, as we go through the process, your commitment level increases over time, but starts super low. And if you give us a call, we can talk a lot more specifics on that.
Great, that's good to know. Another one here for Arun, I believe here. So you mentioned, obviously, and Ed mentioned this as well, but the steam generated heat pumps. Are there other technologies eligible for funding with this grant, or is this the only one that Skyven offers for this?
So this is the only one that Skyven is offering. Speaking about the grant in general, the grant in general is written quite broadly, and technologies that meet the requirements that I went over in the first part of this presentation could be eligible. But for Skyven, we're focused on the steam generating heat pumps.
Do you want to touch on any other technologies that are out there, or do you want to keep it to just the steam generating heat pump outside of the grant?
Sure. So outside of the grant, as Chris is alluding to, Skyven is happy to work with you on other technologies. For example, is a smart steam trap project where we put smart meters on all of your steam traps. And then we take responsibility for maintaining your steam traps and bill you at less than you're currently wasting from leaking steam traps today, right? So you're saving money from day one, again, with no CapEx. And we take the steam trap maintenance off the back of your maintenance manager. So that's one that a lot of our customers are interested in. Like that one, though, is not suitable for this Department of Energy grant opportunity. So that's one we'd work with you outside of the grant opportunity.
Great. Yeah, thanks for that explanation. I think that answers that one. So we'll do one more, and there are a few more coming in. And like I said, we'll try to answer these back to you via email or reach out. But the last one I have on the list for now: how will the grant funding be allocated between Skyven's partners? So you mentioned there were 20-something facilities already kind of joined. How does that work once money is awarded?
Yep. So we are submitting for multiple projects. And so the funding goes to the project. So if it's a $5 million project, there's a 50% federal cost share. So that particular project would get 2.5 million. And if also in the portfolio, there's a larger plant, and we have a $10 million project scoped there, then that plant would get 50% federal cost share, which would be 5 million. So that's how we do it. We do it by project according to the capital cost of the project.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Thanks for that. Well, on our side, we're at the 45-minute mark. So I appreciate everyone joining us today. Hopefully you learned a few things. And if you do have questions, don't hesitate. Like Arun said, give us a call, shoot us an email, and we will. Someone asked about the presentation slides. So this recording will be up in the next 24 to 48 hours, and we'll communicate that out. But if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to anyone at Skyven. And thanks again for joining us.
Thank you so much.